Hi everyone, welcome to Mentorship Monday. This is a program where we invite mentors from the Inspire Mentorship program to come and have a chat to us about their careers and how they got where they are and share with us where they're going, what dreams they're working towards achieving. So today we have a very special person to the program. His name is TKay Nthebe. He is not a mentor, he has been a facilitator and is really a great supporter of the program. But his career is worth sharing, guys. There's so much that you're going to learn from his life. So today I'd like to welcome TKay Nthebe, who's a personal financial coach, a Mandela Washington Fellow, a content creator, and founder of TKO Consultancy. TK has a lot of qualifications up his belt. We're going to have a chat about that. And he's just a person that I think has a very interesting career. So welcome, TK.
Thank you, TK.
No, that's not my brand name.
Well, my brand name is TK. Well, hi, TK. Thank you so much for having me here.
Now I'm like, my brand name is Likeleli Monyamane. Okay.
Serious?
I don't have a brand name.
You should.
But I know yours
really
is
should.
TK.
Yeah.
I know.
My brand manager will kill me if I go by. It's like, TK says your government name, and I'm like,
yes.
Well, TK.
Well, we're going to have a lot of a long chat about that as well, about your brand, how you build your brand, and all that stuff. So I'm really excited. So TK, tell us about yourself and how you got into this career. This career path. I think, well, particularly the work that you're doing formally, where you're employed, how you got there, and then we'll come and talk about all these other exciting things.
Okay, so I don't like that question because it almost feels like an elevator pitch.
You should know the elevator pitch.
Dude, So basically, I'm TKay Nthebe, and my journey has really been quite one for me that's very interesting.
Yeah.
So I studied finance at varsity. But before I talk about what I actually studied, initially I studied BCom tourism management.
Yeah.
At the time, Manpower was only funding tourism management in terms of what I wanted to study. So the alternative was to study finance in Lesotho at either Nalkap or Centre. And I was like, I don't want to do that, Mainly because I studied from grade 1 all the way till matric in South Africa. So it made sense for me just to continue studying South Africa. So I enrolled for BCom tourism management from the University of Pretoria. And while I'm studying BCom, I was like, hey guys, I could actually go into financial management. So I was that BCom student who had financial accounting, financial management, statistics, and all my BCom and communication colleagues were like, why are you doing the numbers? What's with the numbers?
So were these courses that you had to choose, were these like electives that you had to choose, and then you went for the financial electives?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the core were tourism management, communication, marketing. I did those at a first year level, but then the other electives, so I started building a qualification called BCom Financial Management. So I looked at everything that entailed at BCom Financial Management, and I took all the electives. Yeah. So I was that guy doing BCom, running from tourism management and communications to a financial management lecture. And my colleagues were like, you don't like the numbers. What's with you and the numbers? So I had a lot at varsity, and I really was under a lot of pressure, but I actually enjoyed the journey as well because when I started, I didn't know if I wanted to be a marketer or a tourism student or a finance guy. So I was like, I want to study finance because it's quite broad. I didn't want to be an account appointed in the bank. I left the bank in 2015 after 3.5 years, and then I joined a telecommunications company. I left the telecommunications company, joined an asset management company for 13 months, and then I was like, maybe I should move back to the telecommunication industry. So I've been working, I currently work for Vodacom as sales and distribution manager.
Wow. So that is a very exciting move. Well, first of all, your undergrad is quite exciting, but I think it matches your personality. I think you've always been someone that's well-rounded. I studied with TKay guys from grade 5. So I've known him for quite long, and him and I were always competing for number 1. But he's always been like the smart guy who's very multi-talented, into debate, all those things, right? And we're going to talk a lot about how those influenced you, you know. But how difficult was it as somebody that is multi-talented and that has a lot of interest and that has like a personality that could really pretty much fit into finance or marketing or, you know, these kind of things? How difficult was it for you to select a career that you thought was suitable for you?
I think it's a very challenging place to be in, because one moment you feel like you can be a brand manager, the next moment you feel like you could be a tour guide, you know. The next moment you feel like, no, I'm smart, I could be a banker, and you dress up like a banker. The next moment you're like, I could be a sales guy, you know. But I think for me, what was really challenging, particularly after matric, is I did speech and drama matric. So there was a time when I wanted to go into acting as well.
Oh my gosh.
So I went to, when I was applying, my parents were like, acting, we don't even know anything about your
that's
acting
not a
career. It's not a career. I exist. So you're gonna do a BCom. It was even more challenging because my sister had studied a BCom. My aunt studied medicine. In second year, I actually applied for medicine. That's how confused I was.
Wow.
You know? So the one moment I was like, in high school we used to be like, TK is smart. You know, he's good in maths, he's good at science, so he should study medicine. I studied medicine. Well, I attempted to study medicine. The entry level exams, those exams, they show me flames. They show me flames after that. So, but to get to your question, it really is very difficult because you don't know, you know. So the approach I've adopted is go with the flow. Try this. If it doesn't work out, try that. A lot of people think I'm very confused half the time. I also feel like I'm confused half the time. But, you know, I've tried banking and I realized I was good at banking. I realized I was good at sales. But eventually, when everything else stopped, I realized that the one thing that I'm actually very good at is relationship management.
Yes.
So for me, that became a career, to say that I'm actually a relationship manager.
Regardless of what you do, whether it's banking, whether it's communication, that
relationship manager. So some people call it accounts executive, but what I do is I'm the guy who's able to speak to a client and manage the relationship end to end. I'm the guy when the client is upset and they're throwing their toys out, they will call me, give me a backlash, and I'll be the guy who goes back and says, okay, calm down. We have messed up. I agree. And this is how we're going to fix the problem going forward. So I think if I was to say what my career trajectory is I am a relationship manager, because in my banking experience, in my asset management experience, in my telecommunications experience, all I'm doing is managing the one thing that's common. And I think it's been attributable by everything that I've gone through. Speech and drama, public speaking, like you mentioned, branding and marketing, being the all-rounded person. I'm able to put myself in different positions and to try and understand what you're going through. But if I was to say what my career is, it's relationship management.
I think it's quite interesting because your journey, I think for me, it sort of talks to the flaw in how we were raised up. I mean, we were raised up in many wonderful ways, but one of the flaws was you were always trying to slot yourself into a career. And you know, I remember somebody saying, I don't know if it was like on Oprah or something, but saying, asking like a 12-year-old, what do you want to be when you grow up? That limits their imagination, because then they must say either doctor or lawyer or this and that. And I think that's what you were trying to figure out, to say, okay, am I going to be a doctor? And like you're saying, what you have now come to define as your thing can happen anywhere, whether it's in the health sector or the telecom sector. And I think it also shows how, I don't know, the world of work has evolved over the years, where anybody can pretty much move from one industry to another and take up any role as long as they have those skills.
And I think to add on to that as well, the skills part comes in as well, because dealing with people is not the easiest thing, you know. So when I started in the banking industry, I was very frustrated because you have to deal with the client. And when the client comes, it's not about the bank, it's about you. So you deal with issues where you feel like you're incompetent. You deal with issues where you feel like you have no control, because the bulk of the work you do is dependent on so many other people. So when the back office is not stepping up, when the front office is not stepping up, you deal. You know, the client does not know the bank, the client does not know the company, they know you. And it almost feels like you are the incompetent one. And for the longest time, I've struggled with defining myself to say that I'm not necessarily the problem. It's the situation that's a problem. But how do I become the bridge between the company and the client. So it's a skill you learn, and it's not a skill you can learn at varsity. It's not a skill you can learn. You learn as you are going along. You know, you look at people who are doing it well. You look at people who are doing it badly, and then you have to take a bit of, I don't want that, I want this, I don't want this, I want that. Yeah.
So based on that experience then, particularly when you were in school and trying to figure out what it is that you wanted to study, what do you think parents can do better to help their children make these type of decisions?
I think I am an optional parent. And what I mean by that is I don't have kids of my own, but I'm parenting my sister's kids. You know, what I would say parents should do is really take time to learn who your child is. You know, learn who they are, learn what they are good at, learn what they're interested and passionate about. You can see it. You can almost see it from when they're growing up all the way up. You know, so learn what they like and then do your research to find out what is available. For me, I feel like a lot of parents put their kids under a lot of pressure. They see Tukiso, they're like, yeah, you should be like Tukiso. Like, I felt like I needed to be a doctor because my aunt is a doctor. I felt like I had to study a BCom because my sister studied a BCom. But my sister and I are very different. My aunt and I are very different. My neighbor and I are very different, you know. So had my parents, well, I'm not going to blame my parents, but parents should literally learn and take time to understand who their kids are and what they are about. And I think now with the power of the internet, there's so much opportunities for us to do research and learn and take your kids to career guidance. Like we take that for granted, you know. And take kids to, I've always advocated to work, you know. Take a day, what do they call it? Child at work, what, you know, like those really show the kids what they can and cannot do. And if a child is drawn to something, they'll pick it up immediately. If they are good at relationship management and they see me doing what I do, they'll be like, that's what I want to do, you know? So,
and I think to stop defining things as like a doctor, like what does a teacher do? What does a doctor do? You know, if you think about it that way, then you can see if your child is really for that. My grandmother like made this long speech even at my wedding. It was so long. And she was like, she's always been a teacher. She would come home and she would teach us things. And then I started seeing that, you know, I've always been passionate about teaching people, but I don't necessarily want to be a teacher. But I can apply that in the kind of work that I'm doing today. So that is really spot on. All right, so, all right, in your journey, right, who has had the most impact in your life? And how important has people's support been in the type of journey that you walked?
I think I have a lot of people that have really impacted my life in unimaginable ways. For example, in grade 1, teacher Lily, if you want to know her, she really did, you know, she really did.
I remember teacher Lily.
And what I love about her is there's one story that we used to watch in grade 1 that's still stuck with me till this day. It's about a train going up in a hill and it's struggling. And all it keeps on saying is, I know I can, I know I can. So every single time I'm faced with a challenge, I'm like, I know I can, I know I can. So that story stuck with me. Meftopotia, you know, she was big in Sesotho, and at the time I was like, I'm a Model C child. I speak, you know, Mrs. Swanepoel. So there's a lot of Mrs. Gower in St. Andrews, Mr. Gordon's in St. Andrews, who taught me that if you go to an event, you wear a blazer. You know, so I always have a blazer where I go because how you
always look good.
That's the brand, you know. But I think I've had a lot of people who've touched my life in different ways, but the one person that I can really say has really left a mark in my life is my late friend Takangwa. Takangwa was brutally murdered in 2018. And why he left an impact is because we used to walk down the streets of Mafete, dusty and windy, you know, and we would talk about our dreams. But he was that guy who said, I don't understand why you're so afraid to believe in yourself. I look at you and you are the smartest person I know. I don't see why you don't see how smart you are. And I was like, whoa, you know. And why he touched my life is, at first he didn't want to be in Mafeteng. He didn't want to be associated with his family's businesses. And then out of nowhere he switched and he changed. And he owned up and he stepped up. And he loved fitness. He really loved fitness. And at the end, all he wanted to do was start his gym. He started the gym, fully fledged in Mafeteng. And then shortly after that, he was killed. So every single time I tired, every single time I don't want to do anything, I remember you have to give your dreams a chance. You have to get up and you have to do it, you know. So that's the impact that he has left. Yes, I draw a lot from Oprah, I draw a lot from Barack Obama, all the leaders, you know, but to bring it closer home, and every single time when I want to quit and I want to be like, I can't do this anymore, I'm like, this guy had to do a career change. He started studying law, he dropped out, changed to psychology, finished psychology, and then went back to study law again just before he died, you know. And the lesson I learned was believe in yourself, start and finish what you started. The only thing that should stop you is death. But if there's nothing else,
just
there's no excuses, there's no lies, let's stop procrastinating, keep going. So
Wow, that's so powerful. I actually remember Tax from grade 5.
Grade 5.
He studied with us. So no, that's a powerful story. So what I've noticed from people that, I don't know, become successful in their lives is that they value people around them. And I think like what you just shared from Teacher Leli, I mean, Teacher Leli, she didn't teach me, right? But yeah, she used to teach us how to sing in the hall and stuff like that. But these are people that you can sort of overlook as a person and look to people like Oprah, Barack Obama. All these people are so easy to get inspiration from. But what I'm getting from you is that you look at everyone around you and you want to learn from them. Is that something that's intentional?
I'm very intentional. And why I say very intentional is I always say your network determines your net worth, you know, not in the financial sense, but
when people say that, they often mean I need to associate with the best people. No. So what does it mean?
So for me, what it means is my network determines my net worth in the sense that the people I know, the people I have in my life, the messages they tell me.
Wow.
I will go back and say a lot of people don't know that how valuable my friends are. In the sense that I'll say, guys, I'm not going to see you today because I'm busy shooting content. I'm trying to be a content creator. And they will say,
they won't laugh.
we don't understand what you're going through, but if it makes you happy, sure.
Yeah.
When I started the ice business, one of my friends was like, I don't know, so you're going to sell water and ice. What are you on about? You know? But in him saying that was him reaffirming that go out and do it, you know. So we tend to undermine the people who are closest to us because we feel like they're not an Oprah or
like they have nothing to share.
They have nothing to share. But coming home and chatting to my sister, she gives me perspective. Coming home and chatting to my friends over a glass of wine, they'll give you strategy to say that we see what you're trying to do, but have you ever looked at it from this way? You know. So for me, what it means is my network is really the people in my circle. I can learn so much from them, you know, from content to ideas to strategy to how you show up at work. Sometimes you come home and you have had a bad day at work and you really want to resign. And guys, I type my resignation letter many a time and they'll be like, no, calm down.
You'll be fine tomorrow.
You'll be fine tomorrow. Sleep, you'll be fine tomorrow. So the network is really, really important. But for me, what's also very important is we need to pour into that network.
Wow.
We need to pour into that network.
I was going to ask you that.
We tend to take. But I always ask myself, how am I contributing to this person's life? You know, I don't have to give you money. I don't have to. Sometimes all I have to do, all you need is for me to listen and not give you solutions. Just listen. Sit there and listen to you vent. And then after that, you see this person's like, sometimes a person just needs coaching. I may be a great financial guy, but sometimes people just need coaching when it comes to leadership. And it doesn't mean I'm the best person in leadership. It just means that I've gone through certain things or certain experiences that may be beneficial to you. Yeah. So pour it into that network.
Wow.
Pour it into that network. Do not take just
I think that's so powerful. One of the things that we are so intentional about with the mentorship program is basically to tap into the people that are closest to us. You know, we feel like we don't have to look far to get the best speakers or like the best mentors. We just feel like every single person that is in the program or every single person that we know can actually share something. Absolutely. And another thing, that's what we're always trying to instill as well in like our mentees, that just the people around you, just ask them what they think. Even the mentees in the program, to say, look to each other to answer each other's questions. And I was having a conversation with a group of teachers that I went to speak to.
Oh yes, I remember that. Yeah.
Yes, and I was saying to them that, as Basotho, I feel like one thing that we really need to be better at is, like, for example, when we're sitting in the taxi, just to ask people their story, not to talk about the weather or the usual politics, like to start tapping into each other's minds and share ideas and, get feedback. And I've seen that's where I get like the most inspiration, is when I'm talking to people that I know, And
because the story is, everybody has a story.
Everyone
and
has
that
a
story
story.
is so powerful.
Yeah.
And you can learn so much from that story. So yes, I absolutely agree with that. Yeah.
Wow. So besides, I know that you've been involved in like a lot of things, giving back things, like Global Shapers, like you intentionally, you not only give back to your friends, but you take intentional steps to give back to your community. Can you tell us a bit more about that and why that is important to you?
So for me, it goes back. People see the Global Shaper now, it goes back to all the way back to primary school and boarding school. I used to be part of the debating club, and I used to organize events at the hostel, back into varsity as well. I used to be that guy who was part of the faculty house. I used to be part of the guy who was part of the first year mentorship program. For me, what I get from that is it builds me. Like, again, I learned so much from so many people. And again, it goes back to the network I spoke about, I've met so many people that through these different platforms, I've met so many people who've had a positive impact on my life. But not only that, I'm able to call those people and say, hey, you know what? I have done A, B, C, and D. There's a guy who we met through the Toastmasters Club, I think in 2017, who's now hosting an untold story series across the African continent. And then he called me. It's like, I need a judge, and we don't have any participants from Lesotho. So you are the one person I know from Lesotho. So give me 3 hours of your time and let's do this. So for me, being part of the Global Shaper community is you give back. It's service. It's servant leadership. You give back to the community because you find that I have so much available and have so many opportunities and I have so much money and resources, not much money. But I'm fortunate, I'm really fortunate to a certain extent. So extending your time, extending your efforts and your resources and your skills, it really touches people in ways that you are not able to. I remember when we did the Global Shaper Skill Up program, where we're teaching varsity students soft skills. And
things that you take
things that I take for granted, and you see the change this person has almost immediately. You see the transformation, and then you realize that, holy Moses, this is bigger than me. This is bigger than, yes, I'm here, but the work that we are doing is so much bigger than you, and it's not always about you. It's about the transformation you're making in somebody's life. And for me, it's also very important for you not to be arrogant, because we tend to come in and impose things on people. What those platforms have taught me is take a step back, ask the people what they want, ask them what they need, what's important to them, and then bring your resources to help. Because we tend to jump in and
we tend to make assumptions about if we see somebody not succeeding from afar, we want to say, if only they could do this, I'm gonna give them a book to read, and then when you talk to them, you find out there's other factors that affect them. So a lot of people can tend to feel like they don't have anything to give. I know that when we approached a lot of people to be part of the mentorship program as mentors, a lot of them were like, I don't have anything to give. I've never been mentored. I need a mentor, So what is it like? Why is it that you never felt like that? Because I'm assuming you always give because you feel like you have something to share. What do you think people can do better to value what they have?
I think for me, and I've recently shared 2 blog posts, we need to confront the imposter syndrome that we have. I feel like everybody has an imposter syndrome at different varying levels.
What is the imposter syndrome?
The imposter syndrome is, for people who don't know, it's you sitting there by yourself, having a conversation by yourself and telling yourself that you're not good enough or you have nothing to offer. And then you start believing the lies that you're telling yourself,
Writing yourself off even before an external person writes you off.
So you haven't even done anything. You haven't even spoken to everybody. But you're already saying, I can't be in front of the camera because I'm not good enough. you always speak about people saying I'm shy.
Yeah.
I can't do this, I can't do that because of.
People saying I won't even apply for this job because
Yes.
I'm not good enough, and you're like,
Yes.
but apply so
Yes.
that they reject
Yes.
you. Don't reject yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for me, I dealt the imposter syndrome for the longest of time, and I actually came out and say, guys, I actually go through the imposter syndrome. People see me doing a lot of things. They're like, oh, that guy's so confident. I'm like, before I get there, you should see me before I MC an event. I'm sitting in a corner. I'm like, they're like, what? You? And they see me on stage and I'm like, wow, this guy. So the imposter syndrome is very, very important for you to deal with. Secondly is the validation. For me, I've always been looking for validation from different people from outside. I'm learning to say that, so TK, you are good, you are brilliant. And I wake up in the morning and I'm like, you are good. And sometimes I don't believe it. Sometimes I'm like, it's a lie. I don't feel like it. But I play the music that empower me and uplift me. I look at myself in the mirror, I'm like, I can do it. And I go back to teacher Lily, I know I can. I know I can. So to people who are feeling like they have nothing to offer, you'll be surprised, whether it's your skills, whether it's your experience in corporate or in public sector or in the NGO space. It's very, very important. A camera like us, but put yourself out there, start somewhere with what's comfortable for you, but do it. Start. Take a chance. Take a chance on yourself. Yeah.
That is brilliant. Do you have any mentors right now?
I don't think I have specific mentors. I get mentored from a lot of people. And again, people don't know that they're mentoring me.
You just tap into
I tap into. So I think I've gone to a stage where I'm looking for coaches now, and the difference between a mentor and a coach for me is a mentor is somebody who has done it and who's walking, who can share the journey with you. A coach for me is somebody who says, let's walk the journey. But in fact,
let me help you.
Help yourself. Yes. So now I'm looking for a sales coach. I'm looking for a brand coach. I'm looking for a spiritual coach. I'm looking for a social coach. Who never thought, sometimes when you're to events, you have to.
I think I need that one.
Social coach. I'm now looking for an etiquette coach. I didn't know there's so many coaches for so many things, But from a mentorship point of view, yes, I have had mentors that did not know that they were mentoring me. Dr. Speaker is one of them. We've spoken from events that I've hosted and had to introduce him. And through his business and his approach to how he approaches his business, I'm like, I could not with him on two, And that day, it's one of my mentors. He doesn't know this. I just look at him and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And sometimes you feel like the power of social media.
So what do you look for in a mentor?
I look for somebody who's able to be vulnerable. That's where I am now because I'm so tired of so perfect and picture perfect and I've got my life together. I don't have my life together. So I'm looking for somebody who's willing to share their story. I'm currently reading Becoming by Michelle Obama.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, you went through that? And there's a page where she says failure is a feeling long before it becomes an actual thing.
Yeah.
And then half the time I'm like, but I always feel like I was failing, And when you see somebody who's vulnerable, but also who allows themselves to be vulnerable, but also brave enough to say that within my vulnerability, I'm strong.
I push through.
I go through that, So I look at that. I look at somebody who is daring. I look at somebody who is willing to say, I'm going to put myself out there as scared as I am, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. Yeah.
Wow, TK, that's so awesome. So now let's talk about your studies and all the qualifications that you have. Like, I thought I loved school, but I think, I've never met somebody that loves school as much as you do. So obviously nowadays there are a lot of ways to learn and to pursue whatever learning you want to get, right? Why is it? Tell us about how you have pursued that learning and why you decided that is the best journey for you.
Okay, so a lot of people are asking, this guy has 5 degrees. How does he have 5 degrees? So I'm going to talk about them.
5 degrees, guys.
So I did a BCom I did a BCom undergrad, BCom tourism financial management because it was kind of entangled. And I finished it in 2010. And then subsequently, because I was not ready to come back home, I was very in denial about coming back home. And I was trying to live that South African dream, if it is a dream, I decided to enroll for an honors in financial management. And I finished that and I came back home. Started working, so that was my second degree. Started working for the bank. And what people don't know is in 2013, I think I was depressed, rock bottom. I know I was rock bottom, but I was not sure if I was depressed or not. And why I was depressed at the time is I was in denial about being back in Lesotho.
Yeah.
I was like, I've lived in South Africa my entire life.
We should talk about that.
Yeah, I was depressed. And now I'm working for a bank. I'm seeing my friends drive fancy cars. I'm trying to be in Pretoria every single weekend. I can't afford it. And I'm living with my sister, who's now working till 8-10 p.m. in the evenings, And I found myself drinking. Monday I would be drinking a glass of wine, waiting for her to knock off.
Yeah.
From 5 to 10, drink Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Before we know it's Thursday. And eventually I was like, what do people do in Lesotho? Like, what do people do in Maseru? Like, there has to be extra.
What you're describing is normal for other people. Why did it bother you?
It bothered me because
I am drinking from 5 to 10.
I can't. I've never. There needs to be like something to do in the evenings. What do you do? Do you go to the gym? So I didn't have all of those, And I decided I can't be this guy. I've never been this guy, and it was making me depressed. And then I went to YOFS and I enrolled for a second honors in management accounting. And it was strange because I would drive from Maseru from 2 o'clock in the afternoon to be in class at 5, and then drive back at 7 to be back home so I can be at work the next day.
This was how many times a week?
It was 2 times a week, every second week. Wow. It was strenuous. So I'd sit at work and not have lunch because I have to work from 7 till 2, so to make my 8 hours, and then drive to Bloemfontein, sit in class, come back, and then still find time to study. Wow. Strenuous. When I got that qualification, I was like, whew. Worst part is it was a management accounting. And I hate management accounting. I was like, but I needed
it's not
to do
too
that.
inspiring, but even accounting is not the thing that's gonna push you.
And then after that, in I think it was 2013, 2015, I decided I wanted to do a master's. A master's, particularly a research master's, because I wanted to be a better writer. I wanted to do research, and I wanted to learn so much more about retirement planning. And that's when I did the retirement planning. And then the last one, which is the postgrad in financial planning law, is because I was like, I want to go into financial education, but I can't be that guy who does not know a thing or two, So I needed to know that so I could
You can't be the guy telling people to join WhatsApp Stockfells.
Right.
Because you don't understand finance.
Exactly, right? So I needed to do that. And the reason I went to varsity for them is because as much as online learning is practical and it's great, I wanted I wanted the university experience, especially in undergrad, because you learn so much more than the qualification. You learn life skills, people skills, you learn so much more about yourself. Secondly, the master's, it needs to be from an accredited university, whether it's online or it's not, because especially if you want to go in research at a master's level, you need to come from an accredited institution. So that became very, very important for me. The last one with financial
Is that important for like publishing your research?
It's very, very important.
And all
it's
the
very, very, very important. It really, really, because when I got published with the Journal of Economic and Financial Sciences, they want to know which university you went from. They want,
and
if it's there,
not,
it's there. So credibility is very, very important. Very, very, very important. Secondly, with the last one, which is the financial planning, I wanted to go to the School of Financial Planning because I want to be the best for me, not for anybody else. But I want to. When I stand up and I say I am a personal finance coach,
you must have
the backing and the credibility and the ethics that go with it. So for me, credibility was very, very important. Now I'm doing financial coaching. It's an online course, so I also approach that as well because now we have to embrace the technology. So yeah.
So this is like an additional thing. So you're doing financial coaching, I'm assuming, because your course, your postgraduate didn't cover financial coaching.
Yes, and I think now with the work that I'm doing, I advocate for financial education, and I'm getting a lot of people calling me and say that, but I want to.
Help me
make this decision. So I realized that there was a lacking. I can do the financial planning and the financial advisory, but the coaching is completely different because it's a different ballgame altogether. So I realized that I was not 100% confident in this. You don't have a framework, you don't have a structure. How do you go about it? So that's why I decided to let me upskill myself in this regard. And it costs money, guys. It really costs money, like a lot of money. So I also
how did you find it?
So the master's, fortunately, the university funded it.
Yeah.
What people don't know about a master's degree is universities want people to do master's degrees,
especially research masters.
My master's degree for 2 years was fully funded by the university. So I didn't pay.
That's a tip
for
right
anything.
there. So if you're looking to do a master's, a research
didn't pay
master's,
for
or a
anything.
PhD,
Yeah.
in South Africa, at
Yeah.
least I know a lot of universities are now fully funding that.
Yeah.
So no excuse.
So I literally didn't pay
Yeah.
for it. And then the second one, which is the postgrad one, is I saved up for it. So I used part of my savings, and I also took a loan to further my studies in that regard. I think the qualification was 30,000 rands, Maluti. And I did it over 2 years, you know. And with the financial coaching one, which now left me wounded financially, was 10,000 rand.
Yeah.
But when I look at the value the qualification gave me, you know, with return on investment, you know,
Yes.
I was like, yes, I've spent almost 200,000 on my qualifications, but what value am I getting out of this? From a personal, from a business, from a financial point of view?
Yeah.
I'm adding value, not just for me, but for the people I interact with. So for me, people who go to university or studying further, one professor from the University of Pretoria said, it's not about the qualification, it's what you do with the
With
qualification
it.
that
Yeah.
makes a difference.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm intentional about the work that I do, the qualification and the knowledge that I have.
Yeah. Wow. That is really powerful. And I know that like the frustration that a lot of people have, I think I talk about this every week, is that they've studied and now they don't find themselves getting jobs in the area of studies. And I'm like, that's fine and that's sad, obviously, but it also is not an excuse for people that are in a position to actually study further to not continue studying further. Because if you want to go back to school after you've worked, now you have a pretty good idea of what it is that you want to do. So unlike when you went to school after grade 12, you know, now you actually know this is exactly what I want to study. This is why I want to study it, and this is how it's going to add value to me. So I really advocate for.
And I think just to add on to that, it's just because you studied law doesn't mean you have to be a lawyer. You know, just because you study accounting doesn't mean you have to be an accountant. I studied finance. I mean, exactly. I studied finance and I'm in sales. I'm in relationship management. But I'm using some of those skills that I've learned in my new role, you know. So let's also not be afraid to transition through things, you know. Just because you study a particular qualification, it doesn't define you. It's a skill, it's a qualification you have.
It's a
how
skill.
Do you bring,
I think that's important.
Yes, how do you bring that into what you do?
Yeah.
You know, every single day. So I think I just wanted to add some sauce to that.
And I think one thing that is quite common, you know, with all the different people that I've been interviewing on this platform is that like building a career is not a linear journey.
No, it's not.
You know, back in the day, yes, you would do, you know, to be a teacher, this is what you would do. To be, you know, whatever, an accountant, this is what you would do. But I'm finding that nowadays, people really travel a journey like this.
Yeah.
And I think it also comes with the fact that now we have a choice. We actually have a choice about where we work, what kind of role we do. And I think you are one person that has practiced that choice. And I think it's something that a lot of people don't realize. A lot of people are stuck in jobs they don't like, and they don't realize that they could actually negotiate for better roles within that organization, or, you know, start upskilling themselves. So if somebody, say, is in finance and they want to go into sales, start getting these sales skills from other areas so that by the time they want to negotiate for that, they are well equipped.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
tell us.
Absolutely. So I think for me, what opened up my mind, the graduate development program I did with Nedbank really opened up my mind because you rotate.
They move you around.
So I started in finance, and after 3 months, I was like, I studied financial management, and I hate. I'm not gonna do accruals and payables, and I have to check for.
I feel like the day.
But during
some of
that,
these things are actually exciting for other people.
Yes,
Let me just say that. Okay? It doesn't mean
it didn't suit my
doesn't suit
personality,
your personality
because I'm not the routine type of guy. Every day has to be very different.
Yeah.
But when I joined business banking, that's when I was like, this is me. Because now I come up with you tell me your problems, I come up with solutions, and I come up with products that will suit you. I motivate for why you deserve the money. I have to learn, understand your business. I'm out. So for me, that transitioning helped me a lot. And then I left the banking, went to asset management. Completely different aspect altogether. Still relationship management, but now you're selling value.
Very different,
Selling value. Why is this person investing? And why are you selling this particular investment product to this person? Telecommunications is very, very different. You're selling a product, but you're still dealing with customers. So for me, that has helped me navigate. And you realize a lot about yourself in the process. You realize that I'm not very attention to detail orientated, but give me a problem, I'll be like, so look at this, and I'll use words to convince you to buy a product, not figures per se.
Yeah.
The figures will sort of come at the end, but so you find yourself, but you have to be willing to try.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to try. You can't sit there and be like, I'm a credit person, but I want to move into that, but you're not doing anything about it.
Yeah. So you sound like somebody that knows yourself a lot.
Yeah.
Like somebody that has spent time understanding themselves and accepting themselves, and being honest about who they are. How did you get to be that person? Was it intentional, or are you just naturally somebody that likes to reflect and stuff like that?
So I think I used to love to reflect through blogging or journaling, which was one point. But then when the journey started, I think it started in 2017 during my Global Shaper days. So we were part of the Leader Academy. Leadership Academy is basically a 6-month program where they teach about leadership development. And one of the assessments was very deep, like extroverted, are you a thinker? It's one of those almost personality tests that I realized that I'm extroverted, I'm very judgy in the sense that I go, you basically do a lot of self-awareness.
Yeah.
And through that process, I realized that a lot of my friendships were not working out because I didn't understand who I was.
Yeah.
And I was imposing myself onto people and how I do things onto people. So because I had lost a couple of friends then, is I had to reflect and say, what did I not do right? So through that process,
that takes a lot of maturity, because a lot of times we want to blame people for why, like, these things on the internet around, oh, my haters, or like people are toxic, and I'm always like, will you recognize if you are the toxic one?
Yeah, so I went through that, and at the time I remember 2 distinct friendships had ended just abruptly, and I had to call the person and say, I know we're no longer friends, but
what
I am really sorry, and I need to understand how I made you feel. And the person actually appreciated me reaching out. It was not easy at all, but the relationship became better. And after that, I became very intentional to say that I need to know who I am. I need to know what I'm about. And last year during the Yali Fellowship, we did another assessment. This assessment was called Your Top 5 Strengths Finder. The idea is focus on the 5 things, or the top 5 things that you are great at, instead of focusing all your energy on the things that you're not so good at. So I realized that I'm an achiever, I'm focused, I'm a nurturer. So everything that I do is I focus my energy on the things I'm great at. And where I'm lacking,
that is very countercultural. Because in our culture, our culture is to highlight the things that people are not good at. So we also grow up being people that are very conscious. I remember growing up, I was very conscious about like the things that I'm not good at. Oh, I'm like this, and you sort of, that's what you spend your energy thinking about, and so your strengths sort of lie dormant because you're not really sharpening those things.
And to add on to what you just said now, is you focus all your energy and you wonder why you are drained at the end of the day. You wonder why you're so drained at the end of the day. So I flipped the script and I said, I'm going to focus on the things I'm brilliant at, great at. The things that I'm lacking, I'm going to find somebody, which is back to the network. I'm going to find somebody in my network to complement that, who complement that. And it's really working out. And people say, where do you get the energy? I'm like, I draw the energy from the things I enjoy doing.
I cultivate that energy.
That's what I'm doing. Wow. So I'm very intentional about self-awareness.
I am so inspired. This is so inspiring.
Yeah. Wow. So that's what I'm channeling. And I'm allowing myself, I think for the longest of time, I've been very hard on myself. I'm allowing myself to be vulnerable. I'm allowing myself to make mistakes and talk about my mistakes. I'm allowing myself to say, you know what? You've done well. You could have done better, but you did it anyway. Okay. Yeah. Let's keep moving. Let's keep going.
Wow. Yeah. There's so many things I want to ask you. And I'm like, okay, what are we going to focus on? There's a lot. Okay, so we're now like sort of in the last 15 minutes of our program. And right now I want to focus on the fact that I've seen how in the past few years, you've been very intentional about like how you put yourself out there, on social media, on, I know LinkedIn is social media, but like on LinkedIn, as well as like the different blogs you've done. You're working on a podcast right now. So you, I know you're very passionate about financial literacy, and I see that you're making this intentional effort to be a voice that is heard out there on financial literacy. Can you tell me about your decision to do that, and why it's important for you as a professional, especially where you are right now?
I think for me, it goes back to my personal story. I, working in the bank, you have access to affordable debt. I'm talking 2/3 of prime debt, you know. Coming back as a young person from Pretoria, dresses well. So I've made a lot of financial mistakes, a lot of silly, costly financial mistakes, despite the fact that I was a finance graduate. I'm talking about, I still drive my Peugeot 207. I could not afford it when I bought it. I'm talking about almost having 15,000 worth of clothing debt, all in the name of looking good. I'm talking about credit card debt. So I was in a lot of debt. And it started with me writing a blog post about my 7 biggest financial mistakes. And then I realized that, holy,
like people can relate.
There's a lot
to
of
this
people
content.
who are going through this, you know. And then at first I was like, I don't know what I want to do. There's so many people who are in South Africa doing it. Maybe I'm not good enough. The imposter syndrome came through. But I was like, context is everything.
Yes.
People need that person they can relate to. Your ordinary Tukiso who goes
who's going to speak their language, explain it in their context.
Very important. I didn't understand the importance of how Wakamaludi versus something that's written in dollars.
Yes.
We're saying the same thing, but it's dollars. And that's when I realized, particularly after I became very intentional from 2017, but 2019 for me was a defining moment. I went to the United States of America under that fellowship. And at that point in time, the one thing that Americans really do well is they know how to brand themselves. And they're very unapologetic about it.
Them,
yes.
Hello,
so,
this is who I am.
Exactly, the elevator pitch, you know. And for me, after that experience, I was like, but so you're so great at this. It comes effortlessly. You've got the technical know-how. You've got the industry insights. You've got the experience. Why are you holding yourself back? Why are you so afraid? You know. And I decided to say that, and I read a blog post on personal branding. And that blog post said, whether you like it or not, you have a brand. What makes it different? What makes a difference is you need to be intentional about the story the brand tells you. So I had to step back and be like, what do I want to be known for? And why do I want to be known for? I want to be known as the personal finance guy who makes personal finance very relatable, conversational, easy to go, and relatable, but educational. And that's when the branding started. And after that, I was like, well, I don't know much about branding. I should have studied marketing. But
you can't study everything.
I can't study everything. I don't have the money nor the time. I had to find a brand manager. And luckily, the brand manager that I have was also my brand manager is Mutabansi Nawan. She's a digital content creator. So it almost became, you know, when the laws of attraction sort of work. He saw the brand that I was trying to push. So he became attracted to the brand. And I saw the content he was creating. And I was like,
I want to work with this.
And then eventually we ended up working together, and he holds me accountable.
They're doing a great job.
He's holding me accountable to the highest standards, you know. But for me, I had to allow myself to learn from him because he's got a lot of insights.
And to be vulnerable, because this is all about how you put yourself out there. So if you're getting feedback that, do you realize this is how you're putting yourself? I can imagine it's not easy.
No, it's not.
To always get feedback.
And it becomes very tricky because it becomes almost like a psychologist's relationship because he understands and he'll be like, I need you to do this. And I have to tell him that, I'm really quite scared about
I'm
this.
not comfortable
about this. And he says, you have to do it. And this is why you have to do it. So it becomes, you need to work with somebody who understands what you're trying to build and somebody who's not afraid to tell you when you're messing up.
So the reason why I wanted to talk about this is because just a few days ago, we had the Yali WhatsApp group. And somebody was saying, why is it that Basotho don't have LinkedIn profiles? And I noted that even people that do have LinkedIn profiles, they don't really push out content. They're not really like thought leaders in their industry. And even in the mentorship program, one of the reasons why we're doing this as well is for the mentors to put themselves out there, to talk about themselves, and their brands, right? But I've seen the reluctance of people to do that. It's very, very difficult to get people to get out of that shell. So I want you to talk about why you think it's important. Do you think it's important, like around the LinkedIn profile and Like, why is it important, even if you're not trying to build a
Yeah.
personal finance business, for young professionals to really start putting themselves out there?
For me, I'll focus particularly on LinkedIn. For me, what LinkedIn is or has become for me is a platform for me to actually position myself as a thought leader in that particular regard.
What is a thought leader?
A thought leader is somebody, I'll call it somebody who is well seasoned and well spoken in a particular field or about a particular topic, So for me I want to be the go-to guy when it comes to personal finance. And I also want to be part of the community because I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
And I'm always open to learning new things. So what LinkedIn has provided for me is, even when you look at my title, it says a personal financial coach. The branding becomes very important. The hashtags that I use connect me to a community of people across the globe who are doing certain things in that particular regard,
Wow.
So for me, it opens up opportunities. I was sharing the Yale group as well to say that I'm now doing a potential collaboration with a fintech company in Dubai.
Wow.
Not yet finalized, but we are in conversation.
Yeah.
And how they found me was through LinkedIn and through the hashtags. And people see the work that you're doing and the content I'm putting out there, and matching that with the keywords that I'm using.
Yeah.
People in that community start to realize you. There's opportunities for you to meet people from different industries. There's opportunities for you to find work on LinkedIn. Not just in Lesotho.
I've
work
been
across.
contacted on LinkedIn to say, here's an opportunity.
Exactly.
Are you interested?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Secondly, I'm now starting to explore LinkedIn as a learning platform because it also affords you that lifelong learning where you can actually do courses on LinkedIn and become certified. But for me, it really is when you want to build yourself as a professional or as a thought leader or whatever it is, it's such a powerful platform.
Yeah.
It really is. Yeah. Sometimes I remember you were saying you're quite intimidated by it. I was also quite intimidated. I was like, and when you're putting out content, it opens you up to so many people.
Yeah, and obviously people can give you feedback.
Yes,
I was gonna say.
But the beautiful thing is, people will give you feedback.
You
take
learn,
that feedback, use it,
on.
Improve, change, become better. Yeah.
Wow, I think that's powerful, TK. Thank you for sharing that. One of the things that I really am passionate about is for people to understand that they are valuable as professionals. And like, my dream is to see young Basotho professionals take themselves seriously. It's so hard for somebody to talk about themselves as a professional, and easier for them to like make jokes and talk about, we're going to drink on a Friday, or to make jokes at work. But I would really love to see young professionals, say, I'm an actuary, or I'm an accountant, and this is the value that I bring. And also, I feel like as a country, we are in a place where we need a lot of inputs. Like, the government needs inputs. Private sector businesses need a lot of input from young people about how they should build their strategies, like with CSI, where and why they should invest, And I feel like if we start pushing content and writing about all these important topics, somebody will start listening.
Yes.
I did something actually a few years ago in 2018. There was a national youth development strategy or policy that was put out by the government, and I wrote a whole blog critiquing the policy and saying, I think they can improve here, I think this is really good, I think this is not feasible. And the government contacted me and said, would you love to be part of this task team that's going to now come up with the regulation around this thing? I was in Ireland at the time, so I couldn't attend, but it was something that I realized, wow, so people actually people are listening, and they're looking at what we're writing.
Yeah, and they are hungry for the content as well. Valuable quality content. They really are hungry. And I think, to your point as well, is a lot of us need to put ourselves out there because, again, people, Basotho, are very educated, they're very experienced, and they have amazing ideas.
Yeah.
If you don't share your ideas with the world,
they will stay
and
there.
For me, goes back to the exposure as well. We need to learn to travel. Every time I'm in Johannesburg, I almost feel like I'm an imposter. I'm like, these guys are so good. But at the same time, I'm like, no.
I can also.
The only difference is they're very confident and very proud, and they're very unapologetic. We need to become unapologetic because we know our stuff. We have the content. We just lack that confidence. We have the value. We have the value. We just need to break out of that comfort zone and be like, this is me.
Yeah.
And it starts with public speaking.
Yeah.
Guys, let's stop being afraid of public speaking.
And writing.
Sharing
Useful
our
things
ideas.
on
Yes.
Facebook.
And let's use social media for powerful things. And
Yeah.
not, you know, I love the challenges, they're very entertaining, but let's also use it to share our ideas you know, about the industry, about the economy, about the policies, like you mentioned. Yeah.
Wow, guys, just like that, an hour is over. And like there was still so much to talk about. This is somebody that I'm definitely going to be hosting again on this platform. TK, final words to a young person that is trying to figure out what to do, where to work, what they want to be when they grow up. What would you say to them?
So for me, I'll say your dreams are valid. That's what I'm advocating for. So whatever you want to do, your dreams are valid. Do your research, speak to people. And then lastly, I think it's a quote by Shirley Sandberg. She says, done is better than perfect.
Wow.
So for me, that is, let's stop being afraid. You perfect as you go along. Take one step at a time and do it.
Thank you so much. That's
Thank
exactly how we started Mentorship Monday. We decided one day that we're just going to start doing it, and we're still continuing to do it, figuring it out along the way. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. This was amazing. I'm inspired. But what are you going to do with this inspiration that you got today? That's the most important question. So join us again next week, Monday, where we host one of our mentors from the program. See you. #Mentorship Monday.